Breaking tonight, clashes in Chicago as protesters try to topple a Christopher Columbus statue in Grant Park. Chicago police say 18 of their officers have been hurt tonight and 12 people are in custody. The police telling Fox News officers, quote, were there to protect the protesters and allow them to exercise their First Amendment rights. The protesters turned on police, they say, throwing projectiles, firecrackers, and cans with frozen liquid. They say police were ambushed.
Good evening, Shannon. There are a lot of critics who say federal officers have no business in Portland. So in response, the Department of Homeland Security released this 6-page list of what it calls lawless destruction and violence against agents and property, allegedly committed every single night for the past 7 weeks. The feds say violent anarchists have broken windows, destroyed fencing, graffitied buildings, launched fireworks, and attacked officers with a hammer, rocks, paint-filled balloons, lasers, and slingshots, among other crimes.
A memorial service was held Friday for 2 pilots killed in a helicopter crash during the Hanguang exercises. President Tsai Ing-wen paid her respects at the service held outside a Hsinchu hospital.
According to air traffic control records, the pilots had reported low rotor speed before their helicopter came down. Instead of landing the chopper immediately, they chose to keep flying to avoid civilian casualties.
President Tsai honored the 2 soldiers as heroes who sacrificed themselves for others.
Captain Thomas Moore had to walk a long way, 100 laps to be exact, to finally meet the Queen. And today, this national hero and World War II veteran became a knight in a private, socially distanced ceremony at Windsor Castle. The Queen could be heard congratulating the captain, even commenting on his age. The Queen herself, 94 years old, seemed to have left Captain Moore starstruck.
Never, ever did I imagine that I should get so close to the Queen and have such a kind message from her. That was really outstanding.
Throughout his life, John Lewis stood for people's rights. Born on an Alabama cotton farm into a segregated America, he'd not only lived to see an African-American elected president, he would be a major part of making it happen.
Tonight we gather here in this magnificent stadium in Denver because we still have a dream. We still have a dream.
Lewis, growing up, was angered by the unfairness of the Jim Crow South. He credited Martin Luther King Jr. for inspiring him to join the civil rights movement. And eventually, Lewis would become one of its most prominent leaders. As a student, he organized sit-ins at lunch counters. In the early 60s, he was a freedom rider, challenging segregation at interstate bus terminals across the South.
Liberty from lockdowns proving to be short-lived in much of Israel. Businesses there have been closed again and gatherings restricted after a new surge in coronavirus cases. The public's getting increasingly frustrated with it all too, with protests against the government's handling of the pandemic and a Prime Minister who's already up against it over corruption charges. Paula Sleer met some of those protesters.
I'm in front of the residence of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. And for the better part of a week, protests like this have been swirling outside his residence, with many protesters camped here.
A fire has broken out inside a 15th century cathedral in France, shattering stained glass windows and sending large plumes of smoke into the air. The blaze started on Saturday morning inside the St. Peter and St. Paul Cathedral in Nantes in western France. Tourists watched on as firefighters fought to bring the blaze under control. Now, the Gothic building also suffered a serious fire back in 1972.
Residents of North Lowo are trying to salvage what's left from their inundated homes. Torrential rains have pounded the region, sparking deadly flash floods. More than 14,000 Indonesians are now homeless. Several thousand houses and government offices have been engulfed in mud. Officials say rescue teams are looking for more than 60 missing people. Nearly 1,600 people are taking refuge in temporary shelters. North Luwu district is regularly hit by floods during the rainy season. Scientists say the flooding in recent years has been made worse by the climate crisis. The people who live in these villages on Sulawesi are now trying to rebuild their lives, even though they are certain there will be more floods to come.
A strategically significant move for ensuring energy security for the nation. India is in advanced stage of discussions for storing crude oil in U.S. petroleum reserves to increase its strategic oil stockpile. This will help India avoid any supply disruptions arising out of geopolitical reasons and will also allow Asia's third largest economy to store crude when the strategic oil reserves in India are full to take advantage of the low prices currently. The move was one of the key outcomes of a virtual meeting between Indian Oil Minister Dharmendra Pradhan and U.S. Energy Secretary Dan Brulittle.
In Spain, there has been a devastatingly large outbreak of coronavirus among animals in fur farms. Tens of thousands of mink apparently have been diagnosed with COVID-19, and now they're going to have to be put to death. Spanish officials have already ordered the killing of 90,000 animals.
While officials are ordering the killing of nearly 100,000 mink following an outbreak at a farm where animals are bred for fur. The Department of Agriculture, Livestock and Environment of Spain's Aragon region is ordering the slaughter of 92,700 mink after 7 workers on the farm tested positive for COVID-19 and the animals were found to be infected with the coronavirus. While the test initially came back negative, subsequent tests confirmed that 78 of 90 animals, about 87% of the sample, tested positive for the coronavirus.